Hey everybody, it's Gomodex and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we'll be playing another quick draft of the Ikoria format. We do have the start of the Strixhaven Challenge drafts tomorrow, so I'll definitely be hopping into those, but in the meantime, I figure I'll give the Ikoria drafts one last hurrah here, although they are still on for another week if you are interested in the format, so maybe we'll do one or two more, but we're going to be hopping back into Strixhaven starting tomorrow. Anyways, out of this pack we have some pretty good options. Nothing super spectacular, no big bombs in our rares or uncommons, but some nice paths we could go on here. I think the cards that I like the best out of here are probably just the red removal spells. We have Clash of Titans or Fire Prophecy. Clash of Titans is kind of expensive, being 5 mana, but it is instant speed, and if you're lucky, you can have two of your opponent's creatures fight each other and kill each other if they're like equally matched creatures. So there are going to be situations where this is absolutely absurd if you do get that massive 2-for-1 at instant speed, which is great. But Fire Prophecy being only 2 mana, and being more flexible, just doing 3 damage to whatever you want, so you don't have to have anything super crazy going on board to get the best case scenario out of this card. Means I do like this a little bit more, I think, but Clash of Titans is a fine way to go as well. There's also Primal Empathy here. This is a gold card, so usually taking a gold card off the start isn't great because it does mean that you won't be playing it as often as if you just take a mono-colored card at the start. That way you're still open to, like, if I take Fire Prophecy, I could end up in red and any other color, whereas if I take Primal Empathy off the start, if I want to run this card, I have to end up in green and blue, so it's, like half as likely. But this is just a really good card. I've always enjoyed it when I've been running it recently. You get to draw an extra card every turn as long as you have the largest power among creatures on the battlefield, and if you don't, you just keep putting +1/+1 counters on your creatures every turn until you do. So really nice card there overall. Both halves of that effect are pretty solid. Yeah, I like Primal Empathy, Clash of Titans, and Fire Prophecy probably the most here. Zagoth Triumph as a rare draft. Escape Protocol could be fun to try to draft around, but not only do you have to draft a ton of cycling cards, you need to draft a ton of good enter the battlefield effects on your artifacts and creatures, so you need to really devote your draft to drafting around Escape Protocol for it to be good, so don't think I want to just hop in on that train. I'm just going to take a Fire Prophecy. It's going to be the kind of card that is the best in the highest variety of decks. This will be good in any deck that has any amount of red in it. So let's scoop that up and see where we go from there. We have a Pacifism here. If we just want to take another cheap, flexible removal spell, that will be great. We have Prickly Marmoset, a really big threat in a deck with a lot of cycling cards. And there are a lot of cycling cards in the format. So I do like Prickly Marmoset a lot here. We've got some pretty solid uncommons in any of these 3 colors here. Splendor Mare being a lifelinker that you can cycle to get a lifelink counter on one of your creatures. Avian Oddity being a flyer that can give a flying counter to something. Both of these are really solid because the creature halves of these cards are solid on rate. 4 mana 2/4 flyer, 3 mana 3/3 lifelinker, plus the cycling half gives you some really nice versatility, giving a good ability to one of your creatures at instant speed and uncounterable because you're using it as an ability. So that's nice. Duskfang Mentor. This is a solid card too, but it's definitely a lot slower than just the cycling cards. I think I like these a little bit better, but the Mentors are all definitely good if the game goes long. So that's an option as well. Yeah, I kind of like just taking the Prickly Marmoset here. We also do have a 1 generic mana cycler. In my last draft, I did end up in a red-white cycling deck and ended up passing up on a lot of these simply because I did not realize that they were 1 mana cyclers. It just had been too long since I'd seen the format, so definitely when going through, make sure to do your due diligence like I tend to miss out on, and actually make sure to read every card because sometimes it's really easy to forget stuff like this. It's just like cycling for 1, so I just see an off-color card that's nonsense. I'm like, whatever, I don't remember the effect. That thing kind of sucks. It's got cycling, but it's probably cycling for 2, but if you hover over it and it's cycling for 1 generic mana, you can play that in any deck, and it's going to be exceptional in a cycling deck. So definitely was a big miss in our last draft. I think I want to roll with Prickly Marmoset here, see if we can't get in the strongest strategy this time around again, and Rooting Moloch is actually really good in that kind of deck as well. It gives you a very solid ability. When it enters the battlefield, exile a card with cycling from your graveyard, and until your next turn you can play that card. So if it's a land, you can just play it onto the battlefield, and if it's a spell, you can cast it until your next turn. So Rooting Moloch, gonna be a very fun time, give us some good value in a cycling deck. Again, we do have the generic mana cyclers, Frostveil, Ambush, and Starling Development, definitely cards we want to take highly in a deck with Prickly Marmoset, but Rooting Moloch is such a great little value spell in a cycling deck that I'm going to take it over the 1-mana cyclers here. Now, what do we have? We do have Unbreakable Bond, which is good with creatures that cycle if we end up in like black-red. So that's solid with the Rooting Moloch, although, I mean, this is a 5-mana 4/4 in the first place, so we're not really getting a cost reduction by bringing it back for 5 mana, but we are getting lifelink on it. This is a lot better with the really big cycling creatures, the most common one being Greater Sandworm. That's a big green creature, that's a 7/7 that cycles for only 2 mana, so if you can discard that to draw a card and then bring it back with Unbreakable Bond, you actually are getting a massive threat really early. And of course, at uncommon, you have a lot more cards that combo with this. There's a quote-unquote Godzilla card at uncommon in several different colors that cycles for like 2 mana, but it's like an 8/8 Death Touch, or in green it's like an 11/11 Trample. So those are really good with Unbreakable Bond if you can get those, so those are fun to do. Lord Dracus is going to be a great mutate card in a deck with a lot of non-creatures, or non-human creatures, and both of our creatures right now are not humans, so that might work out. Crystals aren't awesome unless they're very on color, and right now we're not really looking to be going in that direction. Yeah, not a super sweet pack. We could take Unbreakable Bond to try to go for like a red-black cycling deck with a lot of creatures to cycle. We could take Lord Dracus as just a fine mutator. We can mutate this for double red, so we don't even need the blue mana, thanks to that hybrid cost, or we can just stay nice and open and take Evolving Wilds, which will be just solid mana fixing for whatever we end up in. I think I'm gonna just go the safe route here and take Evolving Wilds. I don't think any of those other options are incredibly powerful or powerful enough for me to want to commit to our second color. And here we do see that Titanoth Rex, the 2-mana cycler that comes back as an 11/11 Trample if you get to Unbreakable Bond that. So green-black Reanimator there would be a very good strategy with Unbreakable Bond. Less likely to be good in red-black here. Don't think I'm going to take Titanoth Rex here. Green-red cycling isn't exactly where you want to be. Red and white have the most cards that have payoffs for cycling in this format. Cards that give you a bit of value every time you do, like Drannith Stinger deals damage every time you cycle, Drannith Healer gains you a life every time you cycle, and of course Zenith Flare dealing a boatload of damage to your opponent. So if I'm not taking Titanoth Rex here, I kind of just want to take Startling Development, just the 1-mana cycler, but we could also go for like a blue-red cycling deck here and try to use Ominous Seas as a payoff. This card, you get to put a counter on it whenever you draw a card, and once you've drawn 8 cards, once it has 8 counters on it, you can remove one to make it 8/8. So you have a ton of cycling in your deck. You can draw enough cards to start spitting out 8/8s, and that's a definite win condition. Yeah, we're only in red right now. We're not married to anything as our second color, and maybe we do just get some solid blue cycling payoffs instead of the white ones and go for a blue-red run this time around. I think I've convinced myself. This seems like a pretty fun payoff if you can get it to work. It is going to take a while if you don't have a ton of cycling cards in your deck, but spitting out an 8/8 is always going to be massive. Now, we do have another Prickly Marmoset. I think that's going to be the pick for me here, although we also have Frostlynx, which is always a great creature. In this format, it just gives you a good enter the battlefield effect, and then it's a non-human creature on your board to go ahead and mutate onto to turn into a big threat later. Anticipate, I would take this, or at least consider it, if it technically drew me a card, but the fact that it doesn't combo with Ominous Seas is actually a big downside for me in this deck because of the fact that when I have Ominous Seas, I'm going to be looking pretty heavily towards cards that draw cards. So if I see one of the cards that's just like 3 mana draw 2, I'd be kind of more interested in that in this deck than normal. So I'm likely to be picking up draw spells already, so any extra draw spells like Anticipate that don't technically say quote-unquote draw a card are very uninteresting to me. So I don't think I'll be taking Anticipate here. I'm just going to take a Prickly Marmoset. This is an on-color crystal, though. This would tap for blue or red or cycle, so that's solid if we're like trying to ramp up into stuff, but hopefully we can just dump out something that like gives you a big benefit from drawing cards or cycling, and then just start cycling a bunch of cards super cheap, like 2 mana Ominous Seas, 3 mana Marmoset, and that's just the end of the curve. Start cycling everything we draw for just 1 or 2 mana. So don't know if we're going to need that mana ramp from the crystal. What do we have this time around? Bloodfell Caves, if we want to consider splashing in black or just be a little open to that. Some random green cyclers if we want to move in that direction. I mean, Ominous Seas plus double Marmoset. We definitely have a strategy that we're kind of going for here, so I kind of want to keep our deck as streamlined as possible. Probably sticking to 2 colors here, not really looking to splash into anything, so I guess I'll just take the on-color 2 mana cycler. Every now and then, very rarely, we would cast this without cycling it. Most of this time, we'll just cycle it. If there was any 1 generic mana cycler, even if it was off-color, we'd absolutely take that over this, but there's not, so we'll just take a Hampering Snare there. Could try out Escape Protocol here. What else is in the pack? Nothing with cycling, it looks like, but Thieving Otter can be good if you have ways to give this unblockable, so you know you're drawing extra cards off of it. It is a good combo with Ominous Seas, potentially drawing us multiple cards a turn. Yeah, I could see the Thieving Otter here, probably between Thieving Otter and Escape Protocol. Right now we don't have great Enter the Battlefield effects. We don't have any artifacts with Enter the Battlefield effects, and the only creature we have with an Enter the Battlefield effect is Rooting Moloch. So if we're super lucky and we get a Rooting Moloch on the board and then we start cycling and replaying it onto the field, that'll be a great combo with Escape Protocol, but I think we really want a ton to combo with this. But we are already looking into blue-red cycling, so we're already looking to take tons of cards that cycle. The question is if we'll get enough good Enter the Battlefield effects alongside it. Yeah, I think I'm kind of feeling it here. Probably safest to just take Thieving Otter, but I'm going to go for a real specific, real narrow strategy here, and we even see a second Escape Protocol, so we can really build around it here. I'm solidly interested in that, although Facet Reader is also a great combo with Ominous Seas. This lets you pay 1 mana to draw and discard a card. It doesn't really matter that you're discarding a card off of this, because it is still triggering Ominous Seas every turn, so really great combo there. But no, let's just go for the really consistent strategy that we're going for. As much as I would love to draw 2 cards here to help with Ominous Seas, starting development is going to help with more of our cards. Being a cycler for only 1 mana, it's going to help with the Marmosets, Moloch, and Ominous Seas, even if it does help with Ominous Seas a little less than the Of One Mind would. So that 1 mana cycler, definitely the pick. Although there was that artifact in the last pack that does have the Enter the Battlefield, draw a card effect, but I think the cycler is probably still more important. Just take the only on-color card. This is an off-color crystal, so not really going to happen here. Not really playing any of this either. Just heading into the next pack. And again, anticipate with a bunch of other draw that we're hoping to get. Probably not going to end up playing it. I guess for now we don't have a ton. Just have all the cycling going on. Ooh. This is a pack and a half here. Alright, well we have Yorion Sky Nomad. This is kind of a difficult card to build around in Limited. You have to draft really well to be able to use this as a companion. That being said, even if you don't use it as a companion, it's a 5 mana 4/5 flyer, plus it exiles any number of your permanents, brings them back to the field, so it's good with Enter the Battlefield effects. We're already looking into that as a strategy with 2 Escape Protocols to redo Enter the Battlefield effects. I think I'm going to take Yorion here and probably end up using it not as a companion. I don't think we're likely to get like 36 playable non-land cards like we would need to run a 60-card deck and use this as our companion, but maybe we will. Maybe we'll get really lucky here. There are plenty of other notable cards in the packs. Footfall Crater and Drannith Stinger being able to cycle for 1 is huge. I think I'd prefer Drannith Stinger over the Crater a little bit, just because it's both a 1 mana cycler and a good cycling payoff. There's also Sleeper Dart with a good Enter the Battlefield effect to loop off of Escape Protocol, but a better Enter the Battlefield effect to loop would be Frostlinks, so I'd take that over the Sleeper Dart. So I think the pick order here is Yorion, followed by the 1-mana Cyclers, followed by Frostlinks, probably, for me, personally. Ooh, the Quartzwood Crasher. This card is a really good rare to get it. If you get it early enough, you can draft a really fun, just trample theme deck. Grab a bunch of creatures with trample, and whenever you're hitting your opponent, you're spitting out more dinosaur beasts with trample. Super huge card, not really going to be playable here. I guess we could splash in just a green to randomly play this, but our deck looks so synergy focused right now. Really, really heavily focused around cycling and drawing cards that I don't know if we want just the splashed in non-synergistic rare. That being said, I guess there's a go for blood here. Yeah, I was going to say, that being said, what are we taking over this? And there's not like a ton here. I'd probably take this over like Capture Sphere, because this is removal. It's fine removal, so it's definitely not like we're taking the Quartzwood Crasher over nothing. But it's also like not a super big synergistic play for our deck. So we could take just the big bombiest card and try to grab a forest off Evolving Wilds, maybe get like a red-green or green-blue duel somewhere. But if we see Go for Blood, which is both a removal spell and a synergistic cycler for our deck, I think I want to stick to the plan here, as cool as the Quartzwood Crasher could be. Now, not much in here, is there? I mean, there's some good cards, like the Eerie Ultimatum, bring back your entire graveyard. But that's incredibly off-color. That's the 3 colors that we're not. And a very restrictive mana cost. There's Archipelagore, and we do have a lot of non-humans in here. We have 5 creatures, none of which are human. So we could mutate on this. 6 mana, turn something into a 7/7, tap one of their creatures down till their next turn. It's okay. Essence Scatter is pretty good in this format because you can counter mutate cards as well as any creature they're trying to play. That Thieving Otter again that combos with Ominous Seas if we can get the card draw off of it. There's also the 2-mana Cycler. Could be a game ender with Prickly Marmosets as well. Double strike after buffing it a bunch. I'll just take the Raking Claws here. See if we get a Prickly Marmoset combo at some point. We got the 1 generic Cycler of Drannith Healer or the 1 generic Cycler of Memory Leak. Could throw in a Bloodfell Caves. Don't even need to play any swamps in here, and sometimes we'll be casting Memory Leak off of Bloodfell Caves, and cycling it for 1 generic is always going to be fine. So I think I take Memory Leak over Drannith Healer here, although white would be a better color to splash in than black if we get the ability to splash in colors. We just already have a Bloodfell Caves, which makes me feel like leaning towards Memory Leak. The thing where we would want to take Drannith Healer first is, maybe we just open up a Zenith Flare in the last pack. Like, if we open up a Zenith Flare, we're 100% going to want to splash that. So we'd already be wanting to splash white if we get lucky and end up in that situation where there's really nothing much in black we'd randomly want to splash in, except for stuff like Memory Leak that's going to cycle anyway. Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Drannith Healer over the Memory Leak, even though we have the Bloodfell Caves. Just on the off chance we open any of the really good white cycling payoffs. I doubt they'll get passed to us, but maybe we open a Zenith Flare or a Valiant Rescuer or something like that. Shredded Sails, always fine in these cycling decks. Is there any 1 generic mana cycler? Don't think so. There's not. Really, the only other card we might play would be Anticipate. And I'm not super pumped about that. Ruinous Ultimatum has been great for us before, but again, pretty out of our color scheme. Got the 1 mana Cycler, and we've got Frostlinks. I think these are both better than the Raking Claws, although it's also a Cycler. And there's a Tigorilla. I'll just go with the 1 mana Cycler. Now we have the Draw 2 or the Tranquil Cove to help splash white. I think I'll take the Tranquil Cove. I mean, if we just have a million cycling cards, we'll have enough random card draw to occasionally hit Ominous Seas without even needing the of 1 mines. Like right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 cyclers already. Yeah, I'm going to take Tranquil Cove. Another startling development here, I think. Yeah, that's a pretty easy pick here. wield the Footfall Crater, so we're happy to see that, although there's also Sleeper Dart. Right now it's looking like Escape Protocol might just not do anything, because the 1 generic mana cyclers are just always left in these packs with the Sleeper Darts, and I really don't want to take a Sleeper Dart over one of these when we have like double Marmoset to potentially get that early, just one-shot KO. Don't want any of this, to be honest. I'll try out the Essence Scatter. Maybe it does something here. I will actually try out the Thieving Daughter. It's good with Phase Dolphin if we can ever get the two together. Not super likely, but maybe. Could be fun if we do accomplish it. Nice. Get a sick dual land here pretty late in the pack, because it is perfect for our color scheme. Now we'll take a Crab I don't really want to play. And another Crab. So, final pack, we did not open any of the big cycling payoffs, unfortunately, in our uncommons or rares. Although Channeled Force is great with Ominous Seas. We could just dump our hand, redraw a new one. That would be a lot of card draw there, so that puts a lot of counters onto the Ominous Seas. Gets us closer to that 8/8. So that's interesting. It also kills something when we do that, dealing X damage, of course. But there's also Rumbling Rockslide, 4 mana to destroy anything, basically. I mean, damage equal to the number of lands you control by the time you're casting that. That's at least 4 damage, so that's pretty great. We don't really have removal, although Channeled Force is also removal. I think I'll take Channeled Force over Rumbling Rockslide. It is a gold card, but we're already in both of these colors, and the potential to go off with Ominous Seas with this card seems really fun, as well as the fact that this often kills something just like Rumbling Rockslide would. And yeah, I think those are the 2 best cards in the pack, so Channeled Force it is. What do we have here? Facet Reader to combo with Ominous Seas. What is this rare? 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of creatures and or planeswalkers. Well, that is fantastic. Even if we just cast it without paying the white and blue mana, 4 mana to deal 5 damage wherever you want, that can be a 2 or even 3 for 1 if you're lucky, which is incredible. Killing, 2 or 3 of their creatures off of 1 card is going to be fantastic anytime. Even if we only kill 1 thing, this is a fine removal spell, 4 mana for 5 damage. And yeah, that just seems great. And if we're paying white and blue on this, we can just shut off all their stuff for a turn. We do have the white splash in here. That seems incredible. I think it's going to be Mythos of Vadrock here. That's actually really nice to see. Kind of exciting that it's been long enough since I played the set that I just see a rare and I'm like, I don't know what that does. Is that any good? And then you read it and it's like, yeah, that's a spicy one. So now we do have Of One Mind to draw 2 cards for Ominous Seas. We have Sleeper Dart if we do want to go in on the escape protocols. I just think we have so little to combo with them now that even if we get incredibly lucky, we're not likely to have a lot of Enter the Battlefield effects comboing with them. I guess they combo with Yorion as well, the Sleeper Darts do. We'll go for it, see if we become the Sleeper Dart dream. Well, this is going to be a really difficult pick. We have Inspired Ultimatum, and we do have a white splash in here. Somebody gains 5 life, you deal 5 to any target, and you draw 5 cards. An absolutely massive blowout spell, like all of the ultimatums. If you can resolve them, they're insane. They're just pretty hard to resolve. And then there's another Prickly Marmoset with... that's not going to tell me how many cyclers I have. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... 8, 9, 10, 11. Another Prickly Marmoset with 11 cyclers to potentially get those early kills off. I'm going to take the big old splashy rare. It just looks more appealing to me. I can't turn off my monkey brain. I apologize to everyone, but that is what we're doing here. Take the 1 generic cycler now for the Marmosets and stuff. Although we are pretty low on creatures and stuff because we've taken so many cyclers, only 7 here, but just have a really consistent deck. When you have so many cards with cycling, just every time you draw them, you just end up drawing your next card. So when you have 10 cyclers in your deck that the vast majority of the time all you're doing is cycling them, it's kind of like you have a 30 card deck, which means that you draw your specific build arounds like Ominous Seas a lot more often than he would otherwise. So we don't actually need like too many big powerful things because we can dig for them so often with the massive amount of cycling cards that we have, and the more the better. So I think I'm still going to go with the 1-mana cycler here and just always be trying to cycle towards that Ominous Seas, those Prickly Marmosets. Ooh, wow. This is another rough pick. We have Windscarred Crag to help with the mana fixing, which is pretty important with that Inspired Ultimatum. Pretty important to be able to cast that thing in the late game. There's Prickly Marmoset to have a third one of those. With the amount of cyclers we have, that's going to be a massive attacker. Flame Spill to have another removal spell, of which we don't have a ton, although we're doing a lot better than we were before now that we picked up Mythos of Vadrock, Channeled Force, and Inspired Ultimatum in this pack. Inspired Ultimatum doesn't super count as removal because of the fact that we have to cast it so late in the game. That when we need a removal spell, we might just not have the mana for this, but like Mythos and Channeled Force are more removal spells we picked up in this pack. So like that's good. We have those two, and we have Fire Prophecy for sure. And then other than that, we have like a Frostveil Ambush to slow things down if we're not cycling it. I feel like we probably don't need the Flame Spell. We have like 3 decent cheap removal spells. Not super cheap, 4 mana or less, and a ton of cyclers trying to dig towards that stuff. I'm going to take another Prickly Marmoset. I think the amount of cycling we have is pretty insane, and I like the Marmoset maybe a little better than Reflection. Maybe we take Reflection over this. These fill a very similar role. Just massive threats anytime you're cycling. The Reflection, you cycle 1 card and then you're bashing it with a 5/4 Trample Haste. The Prickly Marmoset can attack even if you don't cycle a card, and if you do, it's attacking for 4, so it's only attacks for 1 less damage if you're cycling. And this can still attack if you're not. And if you cycle twice in 1 turn, it actually gets extra value off of that, whereas the Reflection doesn't. I think I will take the Marmoset over the Reflection, but I'm not actually certain on that one. But I do think that I like taking another just big old threat. Another Sleeper Dart, so we can actually try the Escape Protocol thing and the Orion thing. Although Lava Serpent's also good here. Yeah, that's a hard pick. Lava Serpent's great because you can cycle in the early game, and then the late game you draw it off the top and bam, slam it with a 5/5 haste. Pretty brutal. There's just a million escape protocols, so we could even pick up more. I just don't think there's enough enter the battlefield effects in this format, really, for this card. Like, I mean, maybe you have to just be in, like, white-blue with a ton of Day Squad Marshals or something, but I really haven't been noticing, like, in blue there's just Frost Lynxes. I've been passing up on the Frost Lynxes, sure, but that's not the craziest enter the battlefield effect ever, and then other than that, there's just, like, draw an extra card off Sleeper Dart. Definitely, like, an incremental value kind of card, not the biggest, splashiest, scariest thing. Spell Eater Wolverine's another card like Prickly Marmoset that could be just a massive threat early in the game. Cycling enough instants and sorceries, so that's interesting too. Yeah, Wolverine, Sleeper Dart, Lava Serpent here. I'm actually just going to go with the Lava Serpent. I think I'm ditching the Escape Protocol plan. And I will... There's Prickly Marmosets everywhere. Another Tranquil Cove for our Inspired Ultimatum. Another Prickly Marmoset, so we just have a full playset of Prickly Marmoset alongside the, like, 12 cycling cards we have now. We also have a good cycling card here, a Counterspell, or we cycle it for 2. Just getting the absolute payoffs here at the end. Neutralize, Prickly Marmoset, and Tranquil Cove, all fantastic options for us. Let's just slam down a Prickly Marmoset turn 3 every game. Let's just accomplish that if we can. That would be very cool. Don't really want another 2-mana cycler, I think, because we're never casting that, the front half of that card. But are we casting any other stuff? I think the most likely would probably be Gust of Wind, actually. Bounce one of our opponent's cards back to their hand and draw a card, so it works with, like, Ominous Seas as well as slowing our opponent down. We don't have a lot of flyers in here, though. We don't have any flyers in here, I think. So this is always going to cost 4, so it's kind of expensive, but it's solid. I'll try it out here. Facet Reader is going to work great with the Ominous Seas. And this is the kind of deck that I would run one random Thassa's Oracle if we could get one, but that's just not a thing in this format. So that we can't mill ourselves. I feel like that's actually a concern, because we're cycling so much, drawing so many cards. But we'll see here. Just draw more cards. Pick up an Of One Mind, shall we not? 2 of them. Wow. Well, we're the kind of deck that really wants to draw Ominous Seas in the early game, because if we draw it late game, we are just going to mill out. Alright, more Escape Protocols that we won't play here. Alright. Well, don't think we're doing the 60-card Yorion deck here, but I do think that we get to cut out a lot of lands with the amount of cyclers we have. Any more 1-mana cyclers? I know we got Frostveil Ambush. Let's just make a pile of 2-mana cyclers. Alright, I feel like the odds of us ever cycling Ominous Seas are very, very low. And same with the Rooting Moloch. The Lava Serpent, it could absolutely happen, though. Like, sometimes we'll draw this with only 3 lands out, and it's like, well, get cycled if we don't have any other cyclers. And then the rest of these cards, I think, the vast majority of the time we'd actually be cycling, except maybe go for Blood. Although we don't have a ton of creatures, so probably still cycling it a lot. Because our creatures also aren't really big enough to fight super well. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 1-mana cyclers. 3, 4, 5 2-mana cyclers. We are cycling an absolute ton here. Kind of don't love Essence Scatter here, because I feel like our general game plan is always just drop Prickly Marmoset on turn 3 and just cycle during our turn excessively, which means that we'll be tapping ourselves out of all of our mana quite often, so we don't really have a lot of situations where we'll have extra mana to hold up instant speed spells. So I think I will cut Essence Scatter. Maybe even a Gust of Wind here. And then just cut 5 lands, run 12 in here. Maybe. Then we're never casting Inspired Ultimatum until we draw a little over half our deck. But, I mean, when we have 12 cyclers, should be doing that. And with Of One Mind, drawing 2 cards, we should be doing that somewhat often. Ideally. Channeled Force also drawing a boatload. Facet Reader drawing a boatload. Yeah, this deck, I'm really worried we'll mill ourselves sometimes, but we've got 4 Marmosets, so whenever they kill one, we can replace it eventually, and then hopefully just have a big turn of smacking for 10 a couple times. Big old Inspired Ultimatum will be a huge swing in our favor as well. Definitely have some plays with this deck. This will be a very interesting one to run. We have to cut 5 things out of here. Let's see. I think I cut 2 planes for sure, because the only card we need white mana for is Inspired Ultimatum. We do need 2 white mana for it, but we've got 3 white sources with Evolving Wilds, Tranquil Cove, and Plains. Yeah, double white is actually pretty awkward. The ultimatums are pretty hard to cast. Big old fingered cross there on casting Inspired Ultimatum, but I think it's still fun enough to try out anyway. Looks like mostly red here. I think we're more, what do we have to cast? What are we more concerned about having the mana for? Because all these cyclers, we don't super have to account for these in our distribution of colors for our mana, because most of the time we're going to be cycling these cards for generic mana anyway. So we don't like need a ton of blue mana to always cast Frostveil Ambush. We'll often be cycling it, especially like starting development. We don't ever need blue mana for that, or very rarely will we. You know, maybe sometimes it gives some extra damage, turning Marmoset into a 4/4 instead of a 2/3, but not often. So of the cards that we just have to consistently be casting, how is our mana distributed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blue cards right there. Well, that's 6, 7 if you count Yorion. So 7 blue cards, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 red cards. So even split there, and I have to cut 3, which means I go down 1, 2, 3. We've got the even split there, except both of our duels are blue. Only one of our duels is red, so I think I throw in one more mountain. Perhaps. Or one more plains to make Inspired Ultimatum more common. No, we have 6 blue sources right now and 5 red sources. Let's get in one more red. Wait a second. But what am I cutting out for that? Yeah, because I had a 40-card deck. I want it to be an even split, but for it to be an even split, we would cut another island from there to put in another plains, or cut another plains. I don't know, 6 blue, 5 red also seems possibly fine, because we do have a couple draw spells in blue, like Of One Mind. So a couple of our blue cards help us dig to our red mana. Thieving Otter as well, potentially. You know, most of the time we're just trying to dig for lands off of the cyclers, but if we're like really SOL, some of our blue cards also draw cards, whereas none of our red cards do by themselves. We dump a monkey on the board. Yeah, that's probably a fine mana base. These cycling decks in this format are just ridiculous. You have to go in like a really different mindset to build these with your land counts and mana counts and all of that stuff. This is an incredibly keepable first hand, though, because we get our blue mana for our Of One Mind. We have Prickly Marmoset turn 3 and a Rooting Moloch in the late game, bringing back something we cycled earlier. We do have like 12 cycling cards, so it's very likely we draw something to bring back with the Moloch by the time we're casting it. And of course, we have Yorion, the big old 4/5 flyer, coming out eventually as well. Do need another blue mana for that, but Of One Mind can help us get there. And even in the worst case scenario, we could end up cycling our Moloch if we don't draw any more lands. Ooh, Mythos of Vadrok is a great draw, such a powerful removal spell. I will not be cycling our Rooting Moloch just yet because of how great of a value card that is if we can cast it. Blister Spit Gremlin is the first play from our opponent. I'm actually a pretty big fan of that because that makes Mythos of Vadrok potentially more active towards killing more cards on their board. There's the second blue for Yorion, which is cool, but we also have the second red for the Mythos. I'm going to play the Mountain first in case we top deck a Plains, then we could cast Mythos with the extra white-blue ability. Doubt that'll be relevant, but maybe. Just play a monkey on the board here. It's going to be a scary threat. Even though we don't have any cards we want to cycle in our hand, this card always presents a threat in this format with the amount of cycling that's available. So they are just going to kill it immediately with this Fire Prophecy. And pass the turn here. Well, I don't really want a Mythos to kill a 1/1, but I might Channeled Force. Do have to discard one card to do 1 damage there, though? And I don't want to discard any of these cards, really. I could see discarding of one mind. No, I think our hand is super spicy. I'm actually just going to cast this and see what we draw into here. Some more lands, that's good. That means we have our 5 mana next turn. Grim Dancer is the play from our opponent, so we can kill a Grim Dancer and a Gremlin now with the Mythos. Could be pretty massive. Not the craziest thing ever, but solid. This doesn't have lifelink, so just Menace Death Touch. I'm actually not super scared about the amount of pressure they're putting on me right now, so I kind of want to just drop down a Yorion first, let them commit more cards to the board, potentially get a better kill off of Mythos of Vadrok. Like, I'm pretty fine to just take the 3 here. We're going to take 1 from Gremlin right now, go to 18. Next turn we take 4 more, go to 14. Still a pretty healthy life total. I'll just cast a Yorion so I have my own threat to start attacking them with. For now. Grim Dancer kind of reminds me of Vampire Nighthawk. That was one of my favorite cards that I've ever played in a standard format. I don't play standard often, but sometimes it happens. This could be cycling to give Death Touch. Probably not worth that chance. But yeah, Vampire Nighthawk was like a 3-mana 2/3 flying Death Touch lifelinker. That card was just so good. It's just like all the abilities that this card could get all at once, just for 1 less power. Looks like a Fire Prophecy plus another removal spell here is going to be the play. Fire Prophecy and Flame Spill. Well, that puts them down to 1 card in hand, so if we clear the board with a Mythos, then we've got all this against 1 card of theirs. And we have a Channeled Force as a backup removal spell. I think I'll just go for it here. They don't have any mana up, so that should resolve, and it does. So we'll pass turn, probably cycle this Frostveil Ambush here. Final card is a Sanctuary Smasher. It is a 6/4. Go ahead and cycle that. I don't really want to tap down the Sanctuary Smasher. Drannith Healer's the draw. Discard our whole hand to kill that and just draw a new hand. Like, otherwise we're playing a 4/4 getting back Frostveil Ambush. We have to take 6, or we chump block. And then we can cast Frostveil Ambush on our next turn to keep it tapped for a turn. Yeah, no, I think our best play is just to get that gone right now. Target player draws X. We want to target ourselves, and then we want to target 4 damage onto Sanctuary Smasher. See what we draw into, maybe get a 2-mana spell to drop out. Ooh, we haven't played a land for turn, so we get to drop out our Prickly Marmoset then. We are halfway through our deck here, only 19 cards left, so that general game plan is working out. And here's the Ominous Seas to potentially really start getting there. Obviously, these more cards to cycle. Just going to cycle them right now in case I draw anything that I want to cast pre-combat for more damage. Not super likely, but we'll see. Like getting counters on the Ominous Seas. Another Prickly Marmoset it is. Slam in for 6 then. So we could have cast Startling Development and done 2 more damage than we could have by cycling it. But then, of course, we wouldn't get another counter on the Ominous Seas. Ooh, Raking Claws is the draw. That is strong enough. I think I want to just hold on to it for a potential kill. Giving double strike to the Marmoset for a lot of extra damage. Footfall Crater. If I cycle both of these, Ominous Seas is at 6 counters. If I draw a cycler here, do I just like immediately kill them? Because I cycle that, cycle another card that's 6. Yeah, if I draw another cycler here, it is lethal on board, so I could just go for it here. Of One Mind. That helps with Ominous Seas. And another cycler. So we're going for lethal right now as well as making an 8/8 in their end step. We could make it 8/8 right now, but we might as well wait till their end step in case they have sorcery speed removal and can survive this. Alright, looks like they can't survive that. We'll just make an 8/8 in the middle. Just cause I feel like it's entirely possible that Ominous Seas will end up at the bottom of our deck in most games. So I want to make sure, at least by the end of this draft, I've made an 8/8, even if I lose every other game. So we got to spit one out there. So that was pretty absurd. All things functioning a lot better than I thought they would. Things looking like a well-oiled engine there. Of course, our really big Balmy Rares helped a lot there. Getting the big 2-for-1 off of the removal spell, the Mythos, was absolutely huge. And here we have another great Prickly Marmoset start, potentially just hitting for a lot multiple times. Yeah, I'm very confident in saying that they should never print cycling for 1 generic mana in a limited format again. At least not with any, like, payoffs for it. But even without the payoffs, we have seen plenty of people just running them to cut down on their deck size, essentially, and play a more consistent, like, 30-ish card deck with just 10 cards as you pay 1 mana to draw the next one. Helica Glider is the play. A 2/2 flyer it is. I think I just want to play our Marmoset down here. Durable Coil Bug here. They do hit us for 2. We get to attack in pretty freely. The question is, do we want to cycle a lot if they don't do anything? They have 1 red mana up, so I don't think they have anything that could kill Marmoset. If they don't block, we could cycle 2 cards and give double strikes, so we could do 12 damage. Don't know if that's worth it. Is it worth it to cycle some but not all, though? Because if we hit 1 more land, then we have enough lands to cycle 3 cards and Raking Claws, which would be like 16 damage. I think I just like half bake it here. Cycle, not the Go for Blood, but cycle a starting development or 2, because we also want to hit another land for Yorion, so getting to that seems important. So we have the land for Yorion now. If we are just going to cast Yorion next turn, I think it's fine to just dump all the cycling out here. Rooting Moloch as well. Do I want to double strike? Or do I want to draw another card, or do I want to hold on that? If we hit for 12, we're putting them into 9. Six extra damage by casting it, 2 extra damage by cycling it. Just get that 6 extra damage in, I think. Cast Yorion next turn. I guess the other thing to think about here is, if we cast Moloch first, we could use Moloch's ability twice for good value. Until the end of our next turn, we can play whatever we choose. But we're not getting a ton of value. We're just getting... We can make something a 4/4 till end of turn, or we can give something double strike till end of turn by using Moloch here. Yeah, I think we just cast Yorion. If we were recasting like a good card from our grave off of Rooting Moloch's ability, we'd want to play Moloch first for maximum value of getting these 2 effects together, but we're definitely fine without it. It's probably better to just put the pressure on and potentially kill them in 3 turns here. Yorion of their own, I see. The Yorion fight has begun. Alright, Footfall Crater is the draw. I could cycle it to draw into something and then just cast Moloch on Footfall Crater, because that actually maybe does something later. Because if we cast this, maybe at some point we give a Prickly Marmoset haste for lethal. We could attack with the Yorion, but then they can double block, which is bad for us. The idea with attacking with the Yorion is if they just block with their own Yorion, we could go for Blood Facet Reader into it to kill it, but because they have a double block available, I don't think attacking with Yorion is good. Cycle Footfall Crater, see where we go with this. Mythos of Vadrock. Well, that's pretty good. Yep, that's pretty exceptional here, I would say. I think we just do it. 5 damage there. Kind of like holding onto the land to discard to the Facet Reader. And just cycle the lands away as well. They are down to 5 now. We got a Rooting Moloch here. We could cycle a 1-mana card and cast a Moloch. So I don't know for Facet Reader in here. Don't want to do all that pre-combat. Is there a reason to? In case we draw into an instant speed trick, starting development isn't much of a trick. Yeah, I'll just cycle that right now. If we draw into a trick, we have that to protect Yorion. If we don't, we just play a land, slam in, and then just cast Moloch. Draw of 1 Mind. Could draw 2 cards off that if we cast it right now, but we don't really need more cards. We've got a good threat on board, and we're going to play another one. Yeah, I think we just attack in now. Alright, do they have a trick of their own? Unfortunately, Go for Blood is a sorcery. +2/+2, that would kill it, but Go for Blood can finish off the Helica Glider here. But we could also kill it on another turn where it wouldn't cost us a creature, so we should probably do that. Yeah, we were looking for like another Raking Claws or something as a trick for pre-combat, but that wouldn't even have saved it. That would have just made them trade. So even if we had drawn another one of those, it wouldn't be the craziest thing. Play the Rooting Moloch, see what we've got in our graveyard to cast here. Do have that Footfall Crater. Also could give the double strike, although they can just trump block with Coil Bug because we don't have flying, so that doesn't seem good. I think we take the Footfall Crater. That seems like the only card that might do something at some point. Bushmeat Poacher. They've got the Bushmeat Poacher Coil Bug combo going to be a potential really big value engine here, gaining them life and drawing them a card every turn. That can really help to stabilize you and get you out of positions like this. So I'm worried on that front. I might even want to fight the Bushmeat Poacher instead of the Helica Glider, because Yorion's pretty much the only flyer in our deck, so Helica Glider just blocks as well as any other creatures would. So if I want to kill something, I probably want to kill the thing that combos into life gain and draw for our opponent. Ooh, Ominous Seas gives us a definite game plan here. Yeah, now we can just sit here behind our Ominous Seas and hope that this goes off. Let's see what we draw off of 1 Mind. Some good cards, some Cyclers and a Channeled Force, potentially drawing a ton in 1 turn. Let's go ahead and get the Footfall Crater out. Last chance to do that. And then go ahead and kill the Bushmeat Poacher while they're tapped out, so we know they can't combat trick to mess us up there. Alright, definitely not attacking with our 4/2 there. They are going to start attacking with the Helica Glider. See if they play another blocker here. Unexpected Fangs, is that a lifelink counter? It is a lifelink counter, that's actually really bad. So we need to draw into removal for Facet, or for Helica Glider now, unfortunately. Because now they are gaining a ton of life. Channeled Force only draws us 2 cards. or only does 2 damage and draws us 2 cards. So it doesn't kill Helica Glider until we draw more cards. So I definitely don't want to play a land here. I think I see what we get off Facet Reader. Definitely pushing in on the Ominous Seas here. Ooh, Fire Prophecy? Fire Prophecy plus Channeled Force will kill Helica Glider, but we don't have enough mana. Like, we have 5 mana here, so I can play Fire Prophecy and Channel Force if I keep the land and play it, which would mean I discard the Snare, play the land, play Fire Prophecy, then play Channel Force, and then I wouldn't have any cards in hand to discard a Channeled Force, so I can't play the 2 together if I discard the land. Anyway, so I have to wait a turn either way, so I will just discard the land. Cycle Hampering Snare puts Ominous Seas at 5 counters. Fire Prophecy puts it at 6. Cycle here, see what we hit this time. Of One Mind puts us up a card. And closer to the Ominous Seas. Do I have a 1 mana cycler? No, but I have a 2 mana cycler. Or Fire Prophecy to use on Mysterious Egg so they can only have 1 blocker here, and I'm going to haste out an 8/8 trample. 8/8 trample haste. So they block that, they take 6. That's lethal if I Fire Prophecy one of their blockers here. At least it should be. Because of trample. Now we spit out an 8/8, give it trample and haste, and just slam in. Oh, I guess they go to 1, actually. Never mind. They don't have to block the 8/8, they can block the 4/4, then they go to 1. But yeah, they go to 1, then they gain 4. So they're going to be at 5 life against a 4/4 and 8/8, a 1/2, and another a 5/5 haste. Should be able to get them even past the lifelink here, unless they have a big way to deal a bunch of damage to us. Either way, that was an incredible bunch of draws. So even through that, we can definitely win. Any creature we play has trample haste, so we're super solid. And of course, Lava Serpent just straight up comes with haste, but we can give it trample if they choose to block that, so that we still get lethal. Alright, make sure it has trample so we still lethal through. For Exactsies. This is a really kind of a ridiculous deck here, this blue-red cycling deck. The Ominous Seas has really been paying off. I guess we didn't really use it in the first game, that was kind of just spitting out a token for fun, but this time the token was massive, and giving it haste with the Footfall Crater. Footfall Crater getting hardcast was actually huge. We are really embracing the dark side with the cycling decks yet again this time around. Although it isn't the red-white Zenith Flare cycling decks, it's not the one you see all the time. But it is still very much one that benefits greatly from the amount of like 1 generic mana cyclers and just cheap card draw that is in the format. So here we are in round 3 with only 1 mana. But we can grab a blue, we can cycle that for only 1. If we get a human, we can of One Mind for 1. That's not likely, though. This might have to be a mulligan, excuse me. Like, we do try to cycle into more lands with the starting development. We are on the draw, too. Yeah, we need 3 to go off here, and we only have 2 cycling cards. I think I will mulligan that. This is definitely more keepable. I think we get rid of a Yorion here, because that is just like a late game stuff. Yeah, we are pretty far from that. Solid as that could be. Don't really want to cycle when we have Prickly Marmoset coming up. Although I do want a Fire Prophecy. Oh, can't do it right now. I, of course, need another land out first. Could Fire Prophecy before it goes to their turn in case they have a pump spell, but it would have to give +3/+3 to save it. And in black and white, I don't think that'll be a thing. There's like that +1/+1 counter lifelink pump spell, stuff like that, but I don't think anything to save this immediately. And I kind of want to get rid of Thieving Otter. I'm pretty sure when I hit 3 mana, I'm just going to cast a Prickly Marmoset. I do still want to draw more with like Of One Mind here. Maybe we get rid of One Mind, though, if we have Marmoset and Thieving Otter to just play dudes out. I think it's between these two. Actually going to get rid of the Otter. Draw another Cycler. They have 3 mana now, and here comes a Bastion of Remembrance, so they are draining us for 1 life whenever one of their creatures dies. Let's go ahead and get our Prickly Marmoset onto the board. Although this probably won't be the best matchup for it if they are going to be making more human soldier tokens at any point. They can just trump block the Prickly Marmoset every turn and drain us life in the process. Checkpoint Officer will also tap down the Prickly Marmoset every turn to stop that, but does not have haste, so we do get an attack out of it for sure. I expect a chump block here. If they don't, we can get some extra damage in, but we can also just cast another Marmoset, which I think I'd rather do. We do get to kill that Checkpoint Officer with a Go for Blood, so we can get that thing to stop harassing our monkey friends. Although it hasn't started yet. They could be using all of their mana on just casting more things during their main phase. They are still on 3 mana, as we are here. Ooh, so they are stuck on the mana. Nothing to play there unless they have instant speed spells. Even if they don't have spells, they do have Checkpoint Officer's ability, so this doesn't necessarily represent anything. They could just have nothing better to do but tap down a Marmoset, or, of course, could have like 4 mana cards in their hand they just can't play yet. I think I play a land here. And just hold on to the Cyclers. I don't think I kill the Checkpoint Officer pre-combat. It's just going to tap something down when we try to kill it anyway. And we could just kill it with whichever one of our creatures is tapped. If they do any combat tricks, we can turn our things into 4/4s or cycle to give them extra power. So I feel our attack should be pretty safe here. See if they make any blocks. They are going to go for the chump blocks, so I'd rather save the cycling cards for more damage later. And unfortunately, we don't have a human on the board, so Of One Mind does cost us 3 mana, so we can't kill Checkpoint Officer and draw 2 cards here. I think killing Checkpoint Officer is better, because it clears the way for both of our monkeys for now. And they, of course, could be attacking for 6 apiece, which is massive if our opponent does not get the mana to play another creature here. They do have the 4th mana, so that could open up some more possibilities from them, although they may just have more instant speed things to do, or just 5 mana cards. Well, when our hand looks like this, just 3 Cyclers, I think we just go for it here and see what happens. If we cycle the 1 mana things first, if we draw 2 more 1 mana Cyclers, we could just do our whole turn cycling cards, but I kind of want to cycle the 2 mana one first, because it's possible that Startling Development can save something. Can't save something from 4 damage, though. I could make it 4 toughness, but that's not enough to survive a Divine Arrow. Do we have anything in our deck that could save something from Divine Arrow? I don't think we do. As far as I remember, we don't. No, we do not. So we just let that happen. And I think we still may as well cycle the cards we don't want to play here. Although we could just cycle 1 Starting Development and cast Of One Mind to play more things. Now let's just get rid of the Happening Snare right now. Get extra damage in. We draw Footfall Crater. That actually has been good in the past, so I don't want to cycle that before cycling starting development, and we just draw a ton of starting developments. Let's just slam in for 8. Ominous Seas, beautiful draw. We have 2 more cycling cards and Of One Mind in our hand, so we have draw 4 in our hand to go with Ominous Seas. Opponent does have a 3/4 to block our Prickly Marmoset, but we only have to cycle 1 card to save it. I would rather play the Ominous Seas first, because we are likely to cycle if they block. And then we get a counter on Ominous Seas as well as killing the Batasia Tiger here. Alright, I think I still just want to get counters on stuff, so let's just cycle both of these cards here, really. As cool as it would be to give it 8/8 trample haste here, let's just get the 8/8 out faster by cycling and pushing in for more damage. So they go down to 7 now. There is our 3rd draw on Ominous Seas. We have 4 mana with a 5th in hand, so we're only 1 land drop away from being able to cast Lava Serpents. I don't know if we're actually going to cycle that. Although it would hit for 4 this turn if we do. It wouldn't be lethal. Do I want to cast Of One Mind, or do I want to put another Marmoset out? I think it depends on what they do here. I think I go for the attack. Ooh. Leave me with the really hard decisions. I can hit them for 4 if I cycle Lava Serpent, but then I don't get to do anything else this turn, so I don't think it's worth it. So I think I just hit for 2. Because if I cycle 1 more card and then they just have a removal spell anyway, that's horrible. And with the amount of time that they held there, just thinking about what to do, I feel like they have a way to get rid of the Marmoset, but I think just dropping another Marmoset should be pretty big here, because that makes any other cycling card we draw into just massive. It makes either Marmoset present for lethal. Doing 6 damage apiece if we cycle 2 cards in 1 turn. And of course, it also makes drawing another land really good, because then we have 3 attackers. So they have a Void Beckoner getting cycled here to give Death Touch to the Batasia Tiger. Not really going to matter against First Strike, thankfully. Would not expect an attack from them here unless they're feeling very confident in their removal spells. So we'll have to see what they do here. I would certainly hope not for an attack, because that would get me really worried. If they just like drop another creature down, I'm feeling very confident, because then we get to just break in real easily. Drop a Chittering Harvester. Alright, if we draw into a Cycler, then they can't attack in here or they die. So I don't expect, yeah, I was going to say, I really don't expect an attack there, because 1 more Cycler drawn would be lethal. Of One Mind draws 2 cards for Ominous Seas, putting it at 6 counters. Cycling Lava Serpent would put it at 7, which would be 8 during our turn, but we can't give the 8/8 haste. We have to cycle 2 cards to be able to kill Chittering Harvester on attacks. Do I just cycle Lava Serpent main phase to see if we draw into another Cycler? Because they slam that block no matter what if we send in. Because all of our other cards are 3 mana, right? And cycling still helps Ominous Seas, so it puts it to 5 even if we don't send in the attack. I think we cycle pre-combat and see if we draw another Cycler. And if we do, we attack. If we don't, we don't. Alright, we do, so we get to attack in. That is not in... There's not a low enough toughness creature for us to kill with Shredded Sails, unfortunately. So we just cycle it to kill it on the attack here. Play the Tranquil Cove. So yeah, we cycle there. If we did not draw into another cycling card, that's when we just consider which one of these do we want to play. Which could be Phase Dolphin, because that could present lethal with Prickly Marmoset, giving unblockability, which could be big. But it could be of one mind to get closer to making an 8/8. There's just a lot of options with this kind of strategy. Could even just be another Marmoset, because it's the scariest looking card. Look at that thing. What is that? Alright, our opponent has 5 cards in hand. All they really need on board is one removal spell, but even if they have one, of course, that Ominous Seas is getting dangerously close to spitting out a Kraken here. Going to be at 7 counters on our next turn. They do have a dead weight to make the Prickly Marmoset smaller, but of course drawing another Cycler still makes it big enough to kill the Helica Glider on attacks. So I think we still send in here. We send in, cycle the Raking Claws, and play another Prickly Marmoset most likely. Actually, Phase Dolphin might be better here. We of course cycle here. If they have a combat trick, they can get the Marmoset. I guess they do have First Strike, so this is a trade, but that's fine because we're getting an 8/8. So we'll make that trade, get their creature off the board. We know we get an 8/8. We can play a Phase Dolphin to make it unblockable. So even if they play a blocker here, we just attack in with Phase Dolphin and an 8/8 for lethal. And that is our plan now. Of course, if we cast this Dranath Healer, of one mind only costs 1 mana, which is pretty cool. Checkpoint Officer, no haste means they can't tap down the 8/8, so this might just do it here. Let's see. Let's go for it here. Unblockable 8/8 for the game. Puts you to 0. That'll do it. That'll put us to 3-0 with the blue-red cycling deck. Of course, we have drawn most of our deck here, and did not end up with a white source. I'm getting really sketched out by the ultimatum that's in our deck here, because it feels like our deck is consistently functioning really oppressively, or impressively, even without just a big blowout spell like the ultimatum. So I think I kind of want to just fix our mana a little more and just cut an ultimatum here, because that seems really risky, because it is a dead draw a lot of the time. So just go back to the drawing board for a second here, which I usually forget to do, and cut an ultimatum just for like an anticipate to dig through cards, or maybe even just another land would be okay. Yeah, I can see just plop another mountain in here. Make it 13 lands. Actually, without the Inspired Ultimatum, we can actually make our mana base really good, because we don't need any planes. Although the 1 planes does make it so we can cast Dranath Healer often, we don't ever need to cast that. So we can cut the 1 planes, make our mana even better. Get another island in here. So we have mulliganed once or twice here for sure, for mana reasons. So that should help out there. And it does feel like definitely our big scary cards like the Marmosets and the Ominous Seas have been definitely consistently putting enough pressure on by themselves without the potential for the late game ultimatum. So I think we get rid of that in this strategy. This has just been panning out way, way better, way more like a well-oiled machine than I had anticipated. I thought we could just use a random big bomb anytime we get really lucky on our mana draws, but with a ton of cycling in your deck does end up just being really consistent towards the cards that you have a lot of copies of. And of course, we've got a full playset of Prickly Marmoset, and we have just been getting really lucky on drawing the Ominous Seas, though, that's for sure. Have not missed out on it in a single game yet. All right. You got that turn 3 Marmoset as always. That is the game plan, so I think that'll be a keep here. Of course, if we don't have the mana to cast it by then, we can cycle the Raking Claws to try to draw another land. Cycle the Go for Blood as well. But I'm not going to cycle them until I know that I need to hit another land, so I'm not going to cycle anything until their next end step, because I could just draw another land this turn, and then I'm good on mana. I did not, although drawing Facet Reader makes me want to just dump that out instead. Because now if we get a Marmoset or Thieving Otter onto this board, we can cast Of One Mind for only 1 mana. That being said, we do have to get 3 mana to play our next creature. Do we cycle the 2 mana card or the 1 mana card here? Go for Blood is definitely a better card to cast later, most likely. So I think we cycle Raking Claws, hope for the best here. So we can actually play land drop for turn, and we do. Lucky draw there. And then might even discard a card off a Facet Reader here. Instead of cycling Go for Blood, we could just cycle any other card from our hand. Right now there's nothing I super want to cycle though. But generally I think it's usually better to be using the Facet Reader type abilities. That's one of those thought experiments that the pros bring up. That there was like a whole article about of like when to loot. And one of their big things was even if you have 1 card in your hand, if it's the second best card in your deck, you still loot. Because then if you draw the best card in your deck and discard the second best, that's still going up. But like me personally, I get in positions like this and I don't want to loot. Even though I think it still would technically be best because we could draw like Ominous Seas or something, like, I don't know, who knows. Get 1 card closer to it. So I'll do it here, but I'm not super confident in it. I think I'm happy to discard a mountain here. Just play a Marmoset. Ooh, Yorian's the draw though. Now I would not be as happy to discard lands. If they don't kill a creature, Of One Mind will be huge. Drawing us 2 cards, and if one of those is a land, we can even cast that and a Thieving Otter. Yeah, the when to loot article, that's something I need to look back on because I just remember the first time I read that I was like, what are you on? What? Because it was like you have Sarah Angel and Lightning Blast in your deck, something like that, like 2 super powerful cards, and you had one of them in your hand, and I was like, but that's such a good card, I don't want to discard that. So, which of course all kinds of, high level like competitive theory and stuff over this game that's way above my head. That's one of those things that's so cool about this game is you can really dive in at whatever level you want and have a fantastic time. While I do like drafting a ton, and I do technically I'm doing it on the ranked ladder, so I am quote-unquote a competitive player, I still consider myself a little more intermediate because I am not very well versed in the high-level gameplay like that. The vast majority of the content that I watch about this game is about the drafting process, because that's the stuff that I have the most fun with, that I have the most enjoyment of, because it's like, I don't know, it's like a randomized, like roguelike deck building process. So that's just always really fun to me. So when it comes to the actual gameplay, I've watched like almost very little theory, and I think it definitely shows. Like there was a recent Twitter thread that was like, rate yourself as a Magic player, and all these accounts, and it was like gameplay drafting sealed, and me, I'm just like, I don't know, 7 out of 10 drafting, like 1 out of 10 everything else. Anyways, let's actually get back into the gameplay, the content here. Not too much to say, kind of definitely a slow start for us, but that'll happen in the deck. But now we can get our Of One Mind going and really start going off. Ooh, another mountain for Mythos is going to be huge whenever we hit that, but we do have 3 mana here still, so we can get our Thieving Otter on the board at least. Is that our best play? Probably. We can't do much with our Go for Blood. I suppose we could cycle Adraneth Healer and then cast it to kill their flyer, but it is a fight spell, so that would kill our Marmoset as well. Could attack with the Marmoset because its ability is ridiculous. But I also like keeping it as a blocker, because if I attack with it, then they get to attack me with Thieving Otter freely. And I'm not going to have good blocks for that. I don't really want to trade Thieving Otters. Yeah, I'll just play a Thieving Otter and pass the turn here, I think. Patasia Tiger slamming in for 3, down to 15 now. And a Helica Glider coming out with flying. We do have the 5 mana, the double red for Mythos, but they have 2 blue mana up. They have 3 up, double blue, and 1 more. Very suspicious mana available to our opponent here. Mythos is going to do 5 divided as we choose, so it's only going to kill Patasia Tiger, or we can kill Glider and Thieving Otter. Do I want to go for the Mythos? The question here is really which card do I value least, because I'm very concerned about a counterspell here. So between Mythos and Yorion, which is the slightly weaker play? I feel like Yorion might be. See if it draws a counterspell, but the thing is Yorion could draw a counterspell or a removal spell. If we're confident they don't have a counter, we can also just slam the Mythos to be able to hit them with Thieving Otter and draw another card. The upside of Mythos resolving is pretty huge, because we get that card draw of Thieving Otter and they only have 1 creature left on board. So even at the risk of a counterspell, that might be worth it. Like it's areas like this where I'm really unsure what's best, because we have great options. It's really about reading what the opponent has here. No counterspell, Mythos. Counterspell, Yorion or like Moloch, if we're really hoping to just drag it out. I'll go for the Yorion here. Because if they have the counterspell, it's not bad because it pulls it for Mythos. And if they don't have the counterspell, we're still doing something good here, getting a 4/5 out. Whereas like Moloch is if they don't have a counterspell, it's just so bad. But if they do have a counterspell, it's like a scary enough card, they probably counter it. I still don't think I attack into that Thieving Otter. Although I guess worst case scenario, they kill the Yorion here. We don't have a good blocker for Otter. We can trade Otters. And the only way that would happen is if they kill Yorion. That's the only way Thieving Otter's attacking now. They could also just double block Marmoset. No, not because first strike. No, I'm tapped out here, so I don't want to send the Marmoset in. Because they could also just have a combat trick. They could have anything with that extra 3 mana they were holding up there. They have like tons of cards in hand. So, a lot of things available to them. Ooh, they cycle in Ominous Seas. Well, I mean, that's fair enough if your deck doesn't have like a million cyclers in it. You know, our deck, of course, has been going off with Ominous Seas over and over again, but our opponent may have had a game where they casted it and only got like 3 counters on it before they died, so really depends on what's in your deck, whether you want to cycle the Ominous Seas and stuff like that. So, no blocks. They didn't play a removal spell. They didn't counter the Yorion. I kind of just want to go for Mythos here, and if they counter it, we still get to draw 2 off of One Mind. But if it doesn't get countered, then we have just phenomenal attacks. Just do like that. If they have a combat trick, they get to save 1 of them. If they have 2 combat tricks, they could save them both. They do have a counterspell. Maybe they just drew into that off of the cycle. Because I feel like if they don't have the removal for Yorion, you probably just counter the Yorion. It's a little unfortunate there. But we're still in a solid position. We do get to draw some more cards here, get another land out. Even with Facet Reader, I think I still want more mana at this point. Because now we can cast Lava Serpent as a big old 5/5 with haste. If I attack in with Yorion, they can double block to kill it. We do get to kill Patasia Tiger, put him down to just 1 flyer. But overall, not going to be worth it. We can cycle with Prickly Marmoset to make it 4 first strike. 4 first strike, we could kill both the 2 toughness things and then die there. If they block with everything, Marmoset dies, but otherwise we get to just kill their stuff. I actually think that's fine. Like, if they block with everything, we kill 2 of their things and lose Prickly Marmoset. And if they just block with 1 thing, like Patasia Tiger, then we just kill Patasia Tiger. So that's super fine. If they don't block, just chip in for 2 damage finally. After we've been choosing not to attack for quite a while here, we do want to start poking the opponent a little bit. Put an actual clock on them. No blocks it is. I don't think I'm going to cycle here. Because I do have that Marmoset out, so I am saving them all as little combat tricks. I guess every card in our hand is cycling though, so we could just like cycle the Draneth Healer if we're just going to use Facet Reader's ability anyway. Yeah, just cycle the Draneth Healer there, actually. Put in 2 extra damage and then get our next card for the future. But now we can actually we can cycle Shredded Sails for only 1 mana by using Facet Reader to cycle it, so don't have to feel terrible about not cycling there, because we can still do a thing. Well, this is horrible. Now they have a 7/7 flyer that taps down our only flyer. We take 9 here, we're going to die in 2 turns. That is not good whatsoever. Yep. Alright, well now I really don't want to cycle Shredded Sails, because I kind of want to use it to kill Patasia Tiger, because now I have to be really worried about dying. So we can cast Shredded Sails to do 4 damage to Patasia Tiger, then we need to find a way to kill a 7/7 with only a Go for Blood to do 4. There's Trade Otters here. Oh dear. Oh dear. Take 10. I go to 5 life? Yeah, I have to kill Archipelago immediately or I'm mega dead. I have to find lethal somehow? They're at 18. They take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What if I draw a double strike spell? Do I get there? But I already played Raking Claws. Do I only have 1 of those? I only have 1 Raking Claws. I don't think there's a way to find lethal. I have to draw into like Frostveil Ambush. So I have to cycle at every possible opportunity here. And just draw into Frostveil Ambush, get really lucky. Another Shredded Sails. We could double Shredded Sails Archipelago and then go for Blood Patasia Tiger. That'll do it. Get rid of Lava Serpent here. Rooting Moloch to bring that back or something. Or we could just get rid of Rooting Moloch. One of the things that we're not going to play immediately. Or just Draneth Healer. Ooh, gain a life here too. That's massive. Please don't have the combat tricks, because I need to clear this board. I'm so glad I have a million Shredded Sails in this deck right now. Ooh, alright, the board's gone. And they're blue-white, so we're not going to play around a haste creature. Get in for 3 there. Of 1 mind to draw 2 cards, get it back into the game. Tons of cards in hand here. We are not in the clear yet, but that was quite a lucky turn of events with the second Shredded Sails. Four, 5, 6, 7 plus 5, that's 12 damage. 13, 14 if we cycle Moloch. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 13. Yeah, we do 14 damage if we attack with Facet Serpent and cycle Rooting Moloch. It's probably not worth the cycle. I think we just cast Lava Serpent and go for it. Actually, no, we can pick up Raking Claws with Rooting Moloch. But we can't get haste. So if we pick up Raking Claws, we attack everybody we hit for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's not lethal either. Yeah, let's Lava Serpent here. since it doesn't lethal in one swing, we might as well leave Facet Reader back in case they flash in something. So we can block that, and we can also draw and discard. So there's multiple reasons to leave Facet Reader back when we're already going to be easily killing them in 2 swings, but not killing them in 1 swing either way. And there's the concession. Wow, that was a definitely lucky turn of events at the end there. Our opponent had a pretty sweet just blue-white flyers kind of deck there. Mutating onto the 2/2 flyer really swung things in their direction, and we were lucky to get out of that one. So definitely a cross your fingers moment there. That was a scary game, but that'll push us into round 5 undefeated. All right, and here we've drawn pretty great mana. Turn 3 Marmoset when you've got the full play set. Will happen a lot. I do enjoy this hand quite a bit. We're just going to keep it. We have all the lands we need to get a Marmoset on this board. And we've got a couple cyclers to just get things going. Would I rather cast a Facet Reader here or make sure I can Marmoset next turn? I think I'd rather make sure I can Marmoset next turn, so we'll play our tapped land this turn. If I play our Mountain, we can cast Facet Reader this turn, but then we don't get to cast Prickly Marmoset until turn 4 if we don't draw another untapped land. So we do have powerful double red and double blue cards in this deck, but our double red card is better, being the big old removal spell. I guess our double blue card's pretty equivalent. Yorion, the 4/5 flyer. Both of those are great. And now we have access to both thanks to a great draw. The second blue source. We just have perfect mana now to get things started with our Prickly Marmoset. Of course, we are against a black-green deck, it looks like. Maybe the black-green Reanimator theme, cycling the Greater Sandworm early here, so they can reanimate that on turn 5 if they have that spell. We have drawn Yorion again. Quite a lucky draft all around thus far. But I think we just slam in with a Marmoset, see if they have a cheap removal spell for Prickly Marmoset. If they don't, just get some damage out, because I do want to cycle some of these cards to get us towards that 5th land for Yorion. So since I want to cycle these cards anyway, we may as well do it when we're getting damage in. I kind of want to cast Footfall Crater now, although Swiftwater Cliffs does come into play tapped. Probably should not have played the land until post-combat here, just in case we drew a tapped land as we did. So that was a bit of a mistake on my part. Because now we do have the 5th land for Yorion, but it comes into play tapped. So if we play this next turn, we're not playing Yorion next turn. Just play a Facet Reader here. So that could have been a very good turn if we had thought of that and just not played the land till after we started cycling cards. Then we would know we're casting a Yorion this turn, whereas now it's just a possibility, depending on what we hit. Hit a Fire Prophecy, so it is going to be another turn until we do the Yorion thing. But we can give it haste with our Footfall Crater, and that might be worth it. Don't think I'm cycling a card here, because I would like to give Yorion Trample Haste. That should be pretty big, but I'll probably Facet Reader, maybe end up discarding this Channeled Force since I have Fire Prophecy anyway. So, just hit for 2. Play our land and pass the turn. Well, no, and cast Footfall Crater, and then pass the turn. Void Beckoner getting cycled. Well, if they've got a Reanimator spell, they've certainly got a massive creature, and I don't think we're going to get out of this one if they have Unbreakable Bond, because they're going to have an 8/8 lifelink now. It'll pretty much be impossible for us to beat. Unbreakable Bond, of course, a 5-mana Reanimator spell that brings a creature back from the grave and gives it... oh, I had to put that on the mountain. Actually, no, I didn't. I have double blue off of the tapped lands. So it's fine on any land with Footfall Crater. Just put it on any basic land here. But yeah, now if I hit another mana, I can cast Yorion and I can give it Trample Haste, which is good. Anyways, as I was saying, Unbreakable Bond, if they bring back any of these with lifelink, they are going to gain so much life off of every swing. That's be a difficult one for sure to come back from. Cavern Whisper, they're going to mutate onto that to force us to discard a card. If we have to discard a card anyway, we can go ahead and just Fire Prophecy that. So they just get a Cavern Whisper that's not on an Almighty Brushwag. Yeah, since we have to discard a card anyway, might as well just discard there. Draw another Prickly Marmoset, not bad. Yeah, always draw discard. Always be looting. 1 mana cycler is really good for attacking into the Cavern Whisperer, so I think we get rid of the Prickly Marmoset, because now we get to attack into Cavern Whisperer, and then if they block, cycle. If they don't block, just cast Yorion. Of course, if we hit an untapped land here, then we'll want to Yorion and give haste anyway. I think we get rid of Marmoset, though, because we don't know we're going to hit a land. And yeah, we didn't hit a land here, so... We did hit another 1-mana cycler, though, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. If they block, we cycle to kill Whisperer. If they don't block, we just cast Yorion. Bam, down to 12. And... here's Yorion. It says hello. And we can untap Prickly Marmoset for fun. And mild value. Probably missed some untaps on Yorion before, since they weren't particularly exciting to me. Glowstone Recluse onto the Cavern Whisperer. It is on the ground, though, so we can still get there in the sky pretty well. Doesn't really matter which one we discard. I guess Drannith Healer first, because we don't really need to gain life this game. So I'm not going to be casting it. I'm just going to cycle either one. I guess it really doesn't matter between the two if I'm just going to cycle them either way. We have 2 cards to cycle, so we can make Prickly Marmoset 6 power. Let's see, they block Facet Reader, just takes 6. That's fine to me. If they want to kill the Facet Reader. They do have Reach here, though, which I totally forgot about. So, punt on my part, but we're still pushing in a ton of damage here to get him killed in 2 swings, potentially. And Raking Claws does make it 1 swing. Fantastic draw. Frostveil Ambush is just overkill. That's 12. Well, 5-0 now for just the blue-red luck sack deck here. But this is another one of the things that all of the 1-mana, 2-mana cyclers do. When you have a deck that is absolutely chock full of cyclers, you do end up cycling so much, drawing so much of your deck every game, that it does leave you open to just consistently drawing what you need when you need it, because you're just cycling so many cards all the time, that you are seeing pretty much half your library at least every game. So these decks definitely give you the tools, the cards to get lucky. If that makes any sense. You know, a cycling deck with a really crazy bomb rare is going to see that crazy bomb rare twice as often as a non-cycling deck with a crazy bomb rare, just because you're digging through your deck so often. Probably the simplest way to say it. Ooh, turn 2 Ominous Seas. A little bit worried about the mana, but we've got multiple cyclers as always. Drannith Healer and Shredded Sails. So we'll see if we can't get an Ominous Seas to start this game out in round 6. It is pretty difficult to run main deck Enchantment Hate in Limited, so Ominous Seas is a very strong card for that reason in best of 1 drafts like quick drafts are. However, there are still some powerful ways to kill artifacts and enchantments that our opponent could have in the main deck, although most of them are pretty high rarity. Stuff like Gem Razor is always going to get main decked. The 3-mana mutator that turns something into a 4/4 reach trample and blows up an artifact or enchantment. But again, that's like a rare card. So it's not impossible that our Ominous Seas gets blown up here, but most likely it should go off. Fortunately, okay, I was going to say, unfortunately, it seems like Arena may be having an issue, or our opponent just has a pretty complex choice between whether we want to keep or mull there. Looks like it may have just been a hard choice for our opponent. Alright, drawing more cyclers is always great. Footfall Crater actually pretty sweet with those 8/8s. Giving them trample every turn is pretty massive against a lot of decks. Looks like we're against green, red, black though, so it could be a ramp deck of sorts with a lot of really big creatures. So I don't know how much trample's going to do here. I think what I want to do is cycle our 1-mana cycler, the Drannith Healer. If we don't hit a land immediately, then we might cycle Footfall Crater. Of course, if we hit another 1-mana cycler, we'll cycle that instead. Alright, did not hit the 3rd land this turn, which is not great, but we don't need to hit a land every turn off of this hand. If they can't kill our Ominous Seas, we don't need much more mana to start spitting out large creatures. We just need time. We do have our 3rd mana now. Could go for the Thieving Otter if that starts hitting our opponent and drawing cards. It's going to be great value for us as well as triggering Ominous Seas. Should be phenomenal. Alternatively, we could just cycle more cards here, but that's really all we'd be doing. Cycle 2 cards this turn, 1 2-mana card, 1 1-mana card. I think I'd rather play the Otter here. Would put Ominous Seas to 6 counters. So get pretty close. Of course, a Channeled Force, if we hit a 4th mana, will immediately make Ominous Seas enough counters to spit out an 8/8, and it'll also do it at instant speed, so we could cast this during their end step and just surprise 8/8 them. So that is a fun combo there if that happens. And a Proud Wild Bonder for our opponent of One Mind is the draw to draw 2 cards here. Draw 2 cards puts us to 7 on Ominous Seas. We only need to hit a land and we could play Footfall Crater, cycle it, and hit another card here. We can't attack into a 4/3 with a 2/2. Of course, Shredded Sail's only dealing damage to flyers, so that's not going to help us here. I think we cast Of One Mind and see what we draw into. Unfortunately, a tapped land means that we will not be getting an 8/8 out before our next turn, but we'll have enough mana to play Footfall Crater and give our 8/8 haste immediately next turn. So we can still slap them with it the second we get it, which should be fantastic. If they play a really good creature like Quartzwood Crasher, then we could also just lose this game hardcore. Yeah, that's going to spit out a 4/4 here. Whether or not we block. If we block, they can choose to do all the damage to my face and spit out a 4/4 anyway because of Proud Wild Bonder's ability. So I think no matter what we do here, they're spitting out a 4/4. Although, I guess if we block, they'll probably choose to spit out a 2/2 and kill Thieving Otter. Either way, we are in a world of pain here. Now we actually do want the white mana to tap their stuff down with Mythos and potentially get in with a ton of 8/8s. So this is a game where still having 1 random Plains in the deck would actually have helped out here. And we do draw the Evolving Wilds to extra punish us for that. I guess we could Channeled Force for 6, so we can kill Quartzwood Crasher with that. And we can make an 8/8 now. We're stuck between a hard and a rock place here. Wow, that was a brain fart. A rock and a hard place here. I think we have to just get rid of our whole hand to kill Quartzwood Crasher. We do draw 6 more cards here, though. So that puts us close to getting another 8/8 from Ominous Seas. Really big combo there. Really big combo. We have 14 counters on Ominous Seas now. So as much as we would have liked to do Footfall Crater stuff, as much as we'd like to do Mythos or Yorion, kind of just have to dump it all, or else Quartwoods Crasher absolutely takes over this game. I think we actually have a pretty big chance now, because we're at 14 counters on Ominous Seas. We're close to having 2 8/8s. And we have a Frostveil Ambush, which is actually pretty good not cycled here, to tap down 2 of their things to just bash in with 8/8s. Frostveil Ambush actually pretty big in this matchup when you're playing a game against a ton of big creatures. Just tapping them down for a second is pretty good. All right, let's spit out an 8/8 and block one of these. Take 8 here if they choose to make all the damage go through. Otherwise, we do kill one of them. I think I'd rather kill the Wild Bonder so they can't push through damage in the future. Of course, they could always have a card that cycles to give Death Touch or something. That wouldn't be good for us, but this is definitely still our best play by far, I think, because we're going to get another 8/8 next turn, even if they kill this one. We're just going to kill it in response. Sure. Not much we can do about that. Take 8 here. Lead the Stampede to draw more cards. So, if I want to definitely make an 8/8 next turn, I could cycle a card right now, and I have to choose between cycling Frostveil Ambush or Gopher Blood, which is pretty difficult because I want to kill both these creatures, so Gopher Blood wouldn't be bad, but Frostveil Ambush to tap 2 things down would be good. We know they're drawing Honey Mammoth and Bristling Boar. We're at 9 life. I feel like we have to kill this Wild Bonder to shut off its ability. We are drawing another card off of Thieving Otter, so we actually don't have to cycle either of these to make an 8/8. Yeah, I think we don't cycle either because they're both good effects to have here. Because now we're at 7 counters. We're at 8 counters once we hit them with Thieving Otter. So we get an 8/8 here. And then probably cast Frostveil Ambush this turn. Or we could cast Gopher Blood and cast a Prickly Marmoset. Let's see what we draw into here. Raking Claws can get us to lethal by hitting them with like an 8/8. And we'd have to hit them with some more stuff, though. They are still at 20, and they're going to gain 4 more life off of Honey Mammoth. It's pretty bad. So do I want to cast a Prickly Marmoset and a Gopher Blood, or do I want to just cast a Frostveil Ambush? I think I want to expand my board as much as I can to potentially break in here. Get rid of that ability that could super kill me by sending their trample damage to our face, whether or not we block. And now Frostveil Ambush plus Raking Claws could get us to lethal if they just play the Honey Mammoth. But I don't think it quite gets there, but it gets close. If they just cast Honey Mammoth here, they go to 24, we tap down both creatures and hit in for 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So they'll still be at 4 life if we Frostveil Ambush and Raking Claws next turn by tapping both their creatures and then giving a double strike to the 8/8. But I think we'd be really happy to see them just cast Honey Mammoth here. Certainly be happier than them casting multiple creatures. Like, it wouldn't be exact lethal, but it would still be a great turn of events for us. Alright, so yeah, next turn is going to be great. Because it keeps them tapped as well, so it still keeps us safe from a counterattack. Unless, of course, they play a big haster, but they'd have to get 9 haste damage to kill us immediately. Ooh, Shredded Sails is the draw as well, so we have another Cycler in the future. We will go ahead and tap those 2 creatures, keep them tapped next turn, so we get a big swing in here, and hit for 16 off the 8/8. Draw another card off Thieving Otter that puts Ominous Seas up to 2 counters. Probably not getting another 8/8 this game. By the time we do, we'll have almost no cards left in deck, down to 14 now. But yeah, they're down to 5 life now. We have a Cycler for Prickly Marmoset. Got 3 creatures to be attacking in with. We have definitely balanced the game out. Maybe even set it in our favor. Don't want to call things before they're hatched, though, here. It is not over yet. Our opponent has 5 cards in hand, and we're only at 9 life. There's a very foreseeable world in which they present good chump blockers and play some sort of spell that breaks their damage in. Alright, a couple chump blockers it is. So we can definitely send in the 8/8 to break one of them, but if we do so, we don't have an 8/8 to block Honey Mammoth. If we attack all 3, we get in for 2 damage with Thieving Otter most likely. Because if they don't block Prickly Marmoset, they're likely to die from their perspective. We do only have 1 Cycler in hand, so it's not a guaranteed death, but I feel like they block Prickly Marmoset with the 4/3. Or really either way around, but they block these 2. Thieving Otter just gets in for 2. I think we still go for it, because we can play 2 chump blockers to block stuff to survive the next turn. And drawing another card off Thieving Otter seems pretty good. And of course, forcing them into chump blocks is great too. They have to chump block at least one thing. And wow, yeah, very, very bold block for our opponent. We'll see if it pans out for them. Of course, we know our deck. We know that decent chance here that they die on the spot, but we'll have to see. They could also survive here. All right, they survive the turn. Go to 1. Which unfortunately means that we don't have a great chance here. If they play a removal spell, we do die. Was really hoping for a Cycler or like a cheap card to play here. Might have been a rough cast there. Or a rough cycle there. Probably should have just went with the 2 creatures, put them down to 3 life instead. In that position. That might cost us here. I guess we'll see. We'll just play Phase Dolphin. If they don't have the removal spell, Phase Dolphin makes it so no matter how many creatures they have out next turn, they die. If they do have the removal spell, we die. We'll see. Pump spell as well will get us here. Either way, it's been a hard-fought, very close game. Honey Mammoth is the play, but Phase Dolphin's still going to push in for lethal through that. If they don't send everything in. Alright, and they just have the removal spell, so super overkill, unfortunately. Alright, so this is definitely also one of those positions where it would be nice if Magic Arena had the thing that Magic Online had, where you can see what your next draw would have been. Because I want to see what would have happened had we just cast another creature there. If we just cast another creature, I think we still just lose. If that was their hand, Ram Through and Honey Mammoth. If we didn't cycle there, they would have been at 1, so they would have... or they would have been at 3 instead of 1. So instead of 5, they'd be at 7 after playing a Honey Mammoth. We would have 2 blockers. We'd have a Phase Dolphin and a Prickly Marmoset. So they're at 7 life now. They ram through our, let's just say, Prickly Marmoset. Phase Dolphin has to chump block. We chump block there, take 8. We go to 1 life. And they still have a Honey Mammoth to block with as well as 7 life. So they then chump block the 8/8 with their Honey Mammoth. And just take... Yeah, we lose either way. Chump block Honey Mammoth there, take 2. Because we just got a bunch of Marmosets in hand. And then they still have... Yeah, they still have 3 more creatures to attack us with the next turn. So we couldn't... I guess we might not lose because we don't have to attack with the Kraken there. It definitely would have been better not to cycle. I guess it really depends on how many cycling cards we had left in our deck. If we did the exact math on it, because then you could figure out what is the exact % chance that we win the game on the spot by cycling with Prickly Marmoset, which I think was still pretty high, but I don't remember how many other cards we had left in our deck, cycling cards. So yeah, it really depends on that. Yeah, we couldn't push through for a crack back after that. We would have just had to keep our 8/8 back, keep our Marmoset back. So we'd keep those back. We would have lost a creature to a removal spell. Wait, no. Ram through everything, all the hypotheticals I'm going through actually don't matter. Because ram through, if the creature you're fighting with has trample, deals excess damage to the controller. So if we had played Phase Dolphin and a Prickly Marmoset, they can ram through the Prickly Marmoset instead with their 4-power trampling creature, so they get to kill Prickly Marmoset and do 1 damage to us, putting us to exactly 0, even if we chump block the 6/6, because we were at 9, take 4, plus take 1 from ram through. So no, either way, damned if we did, damned if we didn't, unfortunately. But again, I'm not sure whether or not the cycle was the right choice there. But that will be the first loss. Always a bit of a bummer when you're on a great win streak like that one. You're like, maybe this is a 7-0, let's go. Looks like not a 7-0, but still definitely a chance at a 7-win run here heading into round 7, 5-1. Not a bad record at all, whatever happens here. Certainly has been quite the juicy draft in terms of playtime as well. Getting a lot of value out of our gems here in terms of the amount of Magic we get to play. And this has definitely been a more fun cycling deck than the red-white one in my opinion. Although not sure it's as powerful. There's just less cycling payoffs in blue. We just happen to get one of the best ones that Ominous sees. This is kind of an awkward start. We kind of just have to cycle a million cards until we draw into something. But that's sort of how the deck operates anyway. So we'll just see what happens. Cycle the Drannith Healer immediately. Probably. So we are by far the least likely to draw white mana over anything else. Although I guess we're almost definitely never casting like starting development. Oh no, the white mana. It's okay, we're going to cycle another 1 mana card here, so either way, we're pretty likely to just cycle all our 1 mana stuff. Get a Phase Dolphin out turn 3. Opponent has started with a Windscarred Crag, so they are in red and white at least. Looks like red, white, black. They're Ruinous Ultimatum colors. I forget all of the specific names of the 3 color pairs in this format, but they are named. Turn 3 Phase Dolphin, big old 1/4 to wall off the 1/1s. Big booty dolphins. A little weird that it's an elemental whale, but it's a dolphin. Although I suppose there just isn't a dolphin creature type in Magic. That'd be kind of cool. Ooh, we got a Yorion coming up, so we definitely want to cycle to hit more lands here. They can start tapping down our Phase Dolphin Checkpoint Officer, but that just sneaks in 2 damage a turn, so it's not really bad for us. We don't have anything to play here unless we want to fight a 1/1 away, which I do not think we do, so let's just pass here and potentially Fire Prophecy, I'm thinking. I still don't want to cycle Go for Blood yet, and that's our only 1 mana cycler. So I don't think we just cycle in the main phase trying to hit land 4, because I think we're just going to Fire Prophecy something in their end step. But maybe it's worth it to just Fire Prophecy. Oh, I don't have red mana. Sometimes my brain just goes... Well, if I had red mana, then I would definitely Fire Prophecy right now to kill a Checkpoint Officer and just draw another card. But since I don't, should have just cycled main phase in case we hit a land. Punts McGee back at it again. Ominous Seas is the draw. That's pretty fantastic. Let's just get that thing on the board. Hold on to our Fire Prophecy mana now. Alright, tap down the Phase Dolphin. So it cannot block next turn. But we can kill the Checkpoint Officer during this end step now. Just did it a little bit late. Of course, if we had cycled during our last turn, we'd have played the mountain there and then killed Fire Prophecy, or killed the thing with Fire Prophecy potentially before we cast Ominous Seas. Winota, oh good lord! Whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. We've already seen more humans from them. The Checkpoint Officer here I do not think we want to allow that to get any value whatsoever, but we cannot kill Winota. We cannot deal 4 damage unless we cast a Fire Prophecy and go for Blood to do 1 more damage with Phase Dolphin, 3 for wanting ourselves to kill Winota. That doesn't seem worth it to me. We might want to just Fire Prophecy this Dinosaur token before it attacks so it can't pull humans out. We probably just want to try to control all of their non-humans. So that they don't get the Winota triggers. Definitely a terrifying card to see. If we hit the 5th mana for Yorion here, we can kill Winota with Yorion with the Go for Blood. We don't hit that, but we do hit a Prickly Marmoset, which is another good blocker to keep the creatures from attacking at me. Winota still gets to attack me. Because they're going to tap down Marmoset and then Phase Dolphin's the only blocker. But I still think it's worth getting that Marmoset down. We're definitely a lot closer to hitting the land for Yorion than the 8 counters for Ominous Seas, so I don't think just cycling all over the place is the right place to be here. I think it's just trying to hit that next land for Yorion and then doing the Go for Blood, so I don't think I'm going to cycle that either. Unless they put me in a position where I can block Winota with my Prickly Marmoset, but that seems unlikely to me. If they allow me to, I will attempt to kill Winota by cycling and blocking with Prickly Marmoset, because that would be just as likely to not pan out as just casting Go for Blood in the first place would be. Alright, yeah, no attacks here. That is what I thought. Alright, and there's the 5th mana for the Yorion. So now we can cast the Yorion, and we're ready to kill Winota with Go for Blood. We can attack in with Marmoset and then untap it with Yorion here, and if they do any blocks, we can start shredding their creatures. Like, if they block with either of these, we just kill it. If they block with Winota, we kill it by cycling. If they block with Cloud Piercer, we kill it by cycling, which we're fine with because of the fact that Cloud Piercer is their only non-human yet again, so that's the only creature we really need to stop from attacking. So we don't need to cast Yorion here if we kill their non-human. So just go for it with Marmoset. Probably just get 2 damage in here, is what I would assume. Feel like I'm going to cast Yorion here. They're almost definitely going to tap down Yorion, but of course I do get to untap the Marmoset thanks to casting Yorion here. That's why I'm fine with the attack. If I couldn't untap Marmoset, I probably wouldn't attack there, because then they just tap down Yorion and I only have a Phase Dolphin. Although I'm not holding any mana up to cycle any more cards, so it's not like Marmoset's presenting great blocks. It's just stopping, like, I don't know, I guess nothing. I guess they're only attacking with the 4/4/5/4 here anyway. Alright, here's the Cloud Piercer attack. See if they hit a human off the top 6 off of Winota's ability, and they do. And it's indestructible? Oh yeah, Winota makes it indestructible. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Oh no! And General's Enforcer makes Winota indestructible too, so Go for Blood is no longer an option. Legendary humans you control have indestructible, so just make Winota completely... Oh dear, I feel like I'm playing Historic here. I guess Winota's banned in Historic, never mind. Oh, she's legal in Standard though, right? I don't remember. She's banned in one of those 2 formats. This is a super big issue. I feel like Winota doesn't even really need to do anything else. She's accomplished a lot here now that she's defending herself too with the General's Enforcer. Of course, Yorion is dead to the Blade Banish, so there's really nothing we can do here. I guess we get cycling, get towards that 8/8 now. That is our only plan. Save up all the mana so we can cycle 3 times, because fighting something isn't going to do anything with the size of our creatures right now. I guess I could cycle a Shredded Sails and fight Marmoset into the Enforcer, so Winota no longer has Indestructible. And then I have the mildest chance in the world. Might be my best option. If I draw another 1-mana Cycler, this is solid. Although Checkpoint Officer can literally just tap down Prickly Marmoset anyway. No, there's like no way to even survive 2 turns, I think, because they have Checkpoint Officer as well. But we do get to kill General's Enforcer. Which is something. Of course, First Strike does not come into play when your creatures are fighting. It only comes into play during combat, so we can't kill the Cloud Piercer there without also losing our Prickly Marmoset. Because they have the 2 mana up to tap down Marmoset, holding up Shredded Sails isn't going to do anything for us, so I'll just cast Facet Reader. They're just tapping down Marmoset in the end step. We just need another chump blocker to not immediately die. I mean, if we just get immensely lucky, maybe there's a world where we get an 8/8 out and attack with it with Double Strike unblockability with Phase Dolphin, and that almost gets there. Really depends how much more pressure they put on us here, but I think they have plenty right now. Although if they just avoid attacking with Winota at all costs, I think we're possible to win. But if they start attacking with Winota as well as everything else here, super got nothing. Yeah. So we take 12? Nope. Oh my god. Oh my lord. They can sacrifice 2 humans now to kill a big creature, and this also +1/+1s the rest of their field of humans. This is a constructed deck. I don't know how they queued into limited with a constructed deck, but I'm a little suspicious. No, just kidding here, but this is a fantastic synergistic human non-human deck here with Winota at the helm. I'm just gonna scoop him at this point. There's absolutely no way. There's no possible combination of draws from ourselves or our opponent that can change things there. That is massive. Well, 5-2 it is here. Heading into round 8 may be the end of things here. Get a 5-3 run rather than another 7 win. But either way, have been doing pretty great in Ikoria. Great all around. 5 wins being the lowest we've done thus far. I do think our deck is really, it's pretty good. It's super synergistic. We do need to draw somewhat well, of course. Do need to get a bit lucky, but I feel like the only games we've really lost have been against some other just incredible decks. You know, the Trample Synergy deck with Quartz Woodcrasher coming in, just really bashing us early with some incredibly powerful swingy cards like that. And then the Human Winota deck there, doing something similar with some really big plays early on. So I think it's hard for our deck to get outclassed, but it still can for sure. This is not the greatest deck in the world. It's just solid. Alright. Opponent starts things off with an Adventurous Impulse, searching for a creature or land from the top 3, and they are just grabbing a forest here. We have all of our colors thanks to a Tranquil Cove. And we get to play an Ominous Seas before we cast anything else, which is always a great time. Our opponent starts off with Baby Godzilla, Ruin Reborn. A great mutate payoff card. Every time they mutate, they're doing it for cheaper and drawing discarding. This can lead into some really big curves getting like 4 mana mutators out on turn 3, and of course giving you value every time you do so. So kind of a scary start for our opponent. We're definitely going to start things off with Ominous Seas, and just be a little concerned if our opponent is off to a quick start. They can certainly bash us, beat us down before we accomplish much with the Ominous Seas, but if the game does go long, we've got a solid start getting that out on turn 2. And here we go. The curve has begun. Polywog Symbiote, of course, leaving you open to some of these very impressive curves, like the turn 3 Glowstone Recluse immediately bashing in for 4 here. Going to be pretty much impossible to kill that, and I expect they're just going to mutate onto it every turn from now on. Its draw and discard effect can keep fueling them, just drawing, discarding anything that isn't another card to mutate onto it. So, very possible that we just get crushed here. So we can play a Thieving Otter here. That would mainly just be a chump blocker, I think. I kind of want to of one mind. I really want to draw like Frostveil Ambush or something to just keep that creature tapped down, if nothing else. I guess if we play Thieving Otter and their plan is to keep mutating onto one thing, we can start hitting them with that every turn. So actually just playing Thieving Otter and then just not blocking here might be okay. Problem is we're probably dying in like 2 swings. Yeah, because they are getting more +1/+1 counters on every time they mutate. So we're taking 7 here. Yeah, we're taking 7 here. Next time, if they play a creature that has more than 3 power at its base level, we'll take like 1,000,000 and just die. Let's see. Would be pretty risky to attack it with Thieving Otter here. Because if they mutate something with 3 power or less, we're taking 9. If they mutate 2 cards, no matter how small they are, we're dead. And if they mutate 1 card with 4 or more power, we're dead. Because it would be a 4 power creature with 6 +1/+1 counters on it. So there are a lot of ways we could just die here. Do I just draw 2 off of one mind? If I draw 2 here, I couldn't possibly hit a creature to play, because I would only have 1 mana left. So I kind of want to cycle Startling Development, because I have a lot of 3 mana creatures. If I hit a 3 mana creature here, I actually get to attack with Thieving Otter, and then just play the other 3 mana creature to chump block. Alright, we hit Evolving Wilds. I think that means that we don't attack with Thieving Otter, we just cast Of One Mind to draw 2 more cards. And we're kind of forced into the chump block here. There's the 3 mana creatures now, so we will have chump blockers. An 8/8's not going to even be enough to kill this thing, most likely, as soon as they mutate 1 more card onto it. I'm going to go for the block there so I don't just die to a pump spell, because I'm not going for the attack anymore. Primal Empathy will allow them to draw 2 cards a turn now. Unfortunately, just red-blue removal. We don't have anything that can blow this thing up. If we were playing like black here, I think we'd be pretty happy, because then if we just have one thing that says destroy target creature, we just boop that. They're down to 2 cards in hand. So our position isn't unwinnable there, but with the removal we have in our deck, it's pretty rough. So I have 5 mana here. I can only play 1 thing anyway, so I may as well play the tapped land. I guess I could cycle a Lava Serpent. Yeah, let's actually cycle a Lava Serpent here so that Ominous Seas has 7 counters. It has 8 counters on our next turn, so that we can get an 8/8 out and spend all of our mana playing creatures next turn. Because I have 5 mana right now, so I cycle Lava Serpent next turn. I have 6 mana up with 2 3-mana creatures to play, so I play 2 3-mana creatures and make an 8/8. So I have enough creatures out to triple block Greathorn to maybe not die just immediately. Essence Symbiote. So now when they're mutating, they're getting another +1/+1 counter and gaining some life. And a Humble Naturalist for more creatures to go wide here. We're going to have enough creatures out to block things. That's I don't think they will be attacking with the smaller stuff, though. Almighty Brushwag can buff itself up a lot. Alright, they don't have a pump spell. I think they definitely would have sent in if they had any trick to get past the 8-8 there. But they don't. Oh, Facet Reader gets us a lot closer to playing another 8-8 at some point. And Phase Dolphin gives us the free attack at some point. We have a plan here if we can sit here, if they don't have an option. Migratory Greathorn is going to turn into an 8-9 on their next turn, because an 8-8 is the biggest creature. But that's fine, because we have multiple creatures. We can do a double block on it. We definitely don't attack. Five, 4. Okay. 5-4 Great Shark is all up in here now. Can block that with Marmoset and cycle a Shredded Sails, so we've got a good block there too, even if they attack all. Frostlinks. Tap down the 8-8. Migratory Greathorn gets in a free attack here. We kind of have to just chump block with Facet Reader now, probably. More likely chump block with Phase Dolphin. Well, we get to eat Great Shark for free. That's nice. So kill Great Shark by cycling a card. Brushwag gets to turn into a 4-4, so we can't... If we block it, it's a chump block. We could stop all the damage with Phase Dolphin, force all their mana to go into that. But I could also just take the 4, go to 6 here. It's not a great spot to be. I definitely have to chump block Greathorn with something. I think I'd rather chump block with Dolphin, to be honest. I'd like to keep Facet Reader around. It gives us another draw to hope for something. It does that thing where it gives us hope. But that may be meaningless here, unfortunately. We'll see. Draw Startling Developments. Ooh, that actually would have been a really good play if we had blocked Brushwag, because then we could kill it. But it would be a trade, so it wouldn't be incredible. Yeah, let that go off. Take the 4. Dranith Healer, so we are gaining life when we're cycling things too now. I could cycle that or gain a little bit of life. Gaining a little bit of life is okay, but it's not really going to help us that much in the grand scheme of things, because a single hit from Greathorn kills us no matter what, but it does give us another chump blocker as well. I really want to just cycle both of these. We get to 5 counters on Ominous Seas. Facet Reader puts us to 6. We chump block there, take 1. Oh no, Brushwag super kills us, because they can double pump that. I think we need another blocker and the life gain here to live. And I think I'm going to cycle main phase just to see if we get something else to play, like a Rooting Moloch, another blocker. Channeled Force for 1 damage. We can kill Brushwag right now, so it can't do 1,000,000 damage to us next turn. Seems like a solid play. Oh, we want to draw the card. We want to do 1 damage to Brushwag. Alright, well, everything we have is very on board, so if they have any tricks, they know they are going off. Alright, well, gotta make a chump block. Ominous Seas is at 5. Facet Reader still helps with that. I think we actually jump with Dranith Healer, because getting more counters on Ominous Seas is better than gaining 1 life incrementally. Oh, dear lord. Quartzwood Crasher number 2! This is their first one, but our second time running up against one today. Yorian's pretty big. And our first 8/8's untapped now. You just play Yorian, hold up Facet Reader's ability. Do we even just... No, we don't attack with the Kraken, because if we blink the Kraken, it's dead forever. That would be horrible. I was thinking, do we attack with the Kraken and untap it with Yorian? No, we would exile it. It would never come back because it is a token. So I think we just cast Yorian. And pass. This is so sketchy. Our opponent's drawing more cards than us. What is this? 15 cards left. We got 16. Primal Empathy. Get out of here. We're the card draw deck. Okay. They get all the permanents from the top 5 cards of their library. Oh my god. We're on the mill plan now. They're digging 5 cards deep. I guess they draw all the cards. Yeah, they're going down to 10 cards in library. Oh, there's a Greater Sandworm. That's it, though. Just a Greater Sandworm, really. Some more lands. Farfinder grabs him another land. Ah! Alright, mountains here. This is so terrifying. But we win the mill game. We do win the mill game. Just keep making 8/8s, hopefully. Alright, we lose 1 creature here, right? We lose our 8/8. If they have a big old pump spell, we'll just let them do it. Just let them absolutely pound us here. Keep Facet Reader so we know we get another 8/8 next turn. And keep using that ability. Alright, kill the 8/8. But we kill the Great Horn. Yes, okay. Draw discard off the Facet Reader for Ominous Seas. Discard starting development because I still want more creatures because look at all that. Bam, we have another 8/8. We drew a land. We're going to discard that off this Facet Reader. We'll just play a Prickly Marmoset and an 8/8. Could be attacking with the Yorian, but that's so risky. We're at 7 and any one of their creatures just kills us immediately. Primal Empathy draws them 2 cards a turn and they're down to 7 cards in library. We are 100% on the mill plan. They're 4 turns from milling out. I guess it doesn't draw them a card once we make an 8/8. It just makes their 7/7 and 8/8. Survivor's Bond, return a non-human. So they get the Recluse again and make something really big. Yeah, it's not great. But we can double block anything they put it on and kill it. We have 14 cards in deck, they have 7. We definitely just draw discard every single turn. For sure. Oh dear. Oh dear. We have to triple block that thing now. Basically. We've got to block that thing with enough toughness to stop all that damage, that's for certain. Or else they're making more creatures when they hit us, and we're at 7, so... can't take the damage in the first place. I mean, I guess just blocking with an 8/8 and a 4/5 still does it. Oh my god, no. Flying? Flying Trample just kind of does it, I think. Unless we get real lucky on Facet Reader. Have we cast the Frostveil Ambush yet? No. There's a Frostveil Ambush in our deck. We gotta use Facet Reader before they declare attacks. Because otherwise they're attacking with 15 Flying Trample. I don't even have the mana for Frostveil Ambush. It really doesn't matter. Oh my god, we got just stone cold handed to us this game. Opponent with a very, very firm lead at the start with the Polywog Symbiote making all their mutates cheap and making just massive stuff. Into then, with Primal Empathy, of course, drawing them 2 cards a turn to keep them fueled. dropping down more big threats like the Quartz Woodcrasher here and Greater Sandworm and the like. Not even an Ominous Seas spitting out multiple 8/8s throughout the game is enough to compete. We could, of course, be casting our starting developments to turn things into 4/4s turn, but they still have 9+1/+1 counters on them, so that wouldn't have changed anything at any point in this game, I'm fairly certain. But that looks like it's going to be the end of our draft here. Some really brutal losses, some just absolutely fantastic decks at the end there. But that is the other thing about starting off 5-0 in a draft. Matchmaking, of course, does work based on how many wins and losses you're at. So if you're playing a 5-0 deck, you're going to get paired against other 5-0s. So you're getting paired against the cream of the crop there at the end, and it really showed. Pivoting the 5-0 into the 5-3, unfortunately, some brutally oppressive plays from our last opponents. Phenomenally drafted decks, as always. We'll see what our last rare is here out of our prize pack. Looks like a Labyrinth Raptor, 2-mana 2/2 Nightmare Dinosaur. This lets you draft a Menace-themed deck, which is very fun. And very interesting. Definitely a fun little strategy you can try to do in Ikoria drafts if you open this up, pick one, pack one. So pretty cool card, something that people have tried in Standard occasionally, but it seems like the Rakdos aggro decks are better just focused around pushing in as much damage as quickly as possible. Not much of a theme to them, maybe a bit of a sacrifice theme. The Menace theme never really took off that well. And then we do get a Strixhaven pack, of course, that is the current Mastery Pass going on right now. And we get a Callous Blood Mage out of that one, a nice Witherbloom rare that gives you a couple options. Almost always best to just draw a card off of this, but sometimes you need a little pest token to sacrifice for your stuff like Biograph here. So, solid draft overall, definitely a really fun deck, fun time all around. Just 5-3 that time, but still doing great in the Ikoria drafts, but I think that will end them for now and definitely end today's video. Tomorrow we will be back with another Strixhaven draft. The Strixhaven Draft Challenge does begin tomorrow, so that should be pretty cool. But until next time, as always, thank you all very much for watching. If you want to see more of this content, you can like, comment, subscribe, as always, all of those things that let the YouTube algorithm know that you're interested in the content and want to see more. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.